Good morning, grade 3s. All right, we've been talking about multiplication this week, and today we're going to talk about arrays. So if you look at this first picture here, it's going to remind you of the equal groups we used in repeated addition. It's very similar to that, so let's take a look. So in your home learning journals, you're going to find your next blank space or your next blank page, and you're going to write today's date, which is March 24th, 2020, and your outcome, which is I can use arrays to multiply. So you can pause this and write that down. Once you're done writing it, you can put down your pencil. You can be trying the practicing with your pencil if you'd like as we go along. If not, you can be watching and just get ready to do some practice in your book at the end. All right, so an array is objects or shapes that are arranged into neat rows and columns. We are going to talk about what rows and columns are on the next slide. So here we have two different pictures. If you look at the picture up at the top, that is a row. So rows go across from left to right. That's how we know something is a row. Just like if you go to the movie theater and you're finding which row of seats you need to be in. Remember, they go from left to right. They go across. Now a column is what goes up and down. A way we can remember this is if you look outside at some of the houses in your neighborhood, you'll see columns on the front of some of the buildings holding them up. Another thing you can think of is maybe a light post or a flagpole. It goes up and down. That's a column, okay? So these apples have been arranged into two rows of four columns. We're just looking at the top picture. So let me just get my pen ready so I can show you. We're looking at this picture up here, okay? So there are two rows. Remember, like a row of movie theater seats, it goes across like this. There's one row and there's another row. Now, I'm going to use a different color and show you my columns. There's a column. There's one. So now you can distinctly see that I have two rows, that's my purple line, and I have four columns, that's my blue circles. Now, we can arrange this a little bit differently without changing the number of apples. So if you look at the next picture now, right down here, now, how many rows do we have? Remember, those go across. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to change my color again. We're going to talk about the columns, the ones that go up and down. I have two columns. So we'll talk about how that turns into a sentence, and that'll help make a little more sense for you. Here I have 10 ladybirds or ladybugs. I want you to think of how these could possibly turn into an array. So you can either pause and try this in your book, or you can just watch me practice it, okay? So here's one way you could have done it. I have two rows and 5 columns. Remember, the rows go across, the columns go up and down, but I still have 10 ladybugs there. The other way we can arrange it is like this. We can have 5 rows, those are the ones that go across, and 2 columns. But notice how the number of ladybugs has not changed. So you might want to pause and try a couple of these. I'm going to go fairly quickly through this, so make sure to pause if you want to give them a try, okay? So here, I'm going to find out how many rows I have. I'm going to use my purple. So remember, they go across, so I'm going to draw my line to help me. There's a row. And there's a row, so I know I have 2 rows. That's just telling me we're right, there are 2 rows there. Now, how many columns do we have? Let's switch back to our columns color. Okay, here's a column, and here's a column. I have 3 columns. All right, let's take a look. We're correct. Nice job. All right, how many rows of balls are here? I want you to think about it for a second. If you said 4, then you are correct. There are 4 rows. Those are the rows that go across. How many columns are there? So remember, those are the lines that go up and down. If you said 3, then you are correct. So how can the arrays help us with multiplication? So say we have 2 times 5. We can draw that as an array. Look, I have 2 rows of blue dots. They go across, and 5 columns. So I can take the number of rows and the number of columns, and that will tell me what my multiplication sentence is. That doesn't change the number of dots at all. We can also turn it the other way, and now we have 5 rows and 2 columns, but the number still hasn't changed, so the number's the same. So what that tells you is on this side, let me get my pen back out, right here, it doesn't matter on this side of our equal sign, there's our equal sign, remember, it doesn't matter on this side which order they're in. The 2 can go first or the 5 can go first. The answer will always stay the same. Now, if I gave you this particular array, the correct answer would be 5 times 2 because we have 5 rows. But I would also take 2 times 5, okay? Can you draw an array for the multiplication questions on the following slides? So you can give this a practice if you like. So here's 3 times 4. So I'm going to draw an array. I'm going to use purple, and I'm going to make hearts. So I'm going to look at my 3 here, and I'm going to decide now what I want that to be. I want this to be my rows, and I'm going to have this be my columns, okay? So I'm going to have 3 rows of 4 columns. So I know I'm going to have 3 things that go across. One second here, I messed up my little heart there. So I know I'm going to have something there that goes across, something there that goes across, and something there that goes across. And I'm going to have 4 columns, so I need to draw that so that there's 4 of those lines. Now let's check if I'm right. There's a row, there's a row, and there's a row. So yes, I have my 3 rows. Here's a column, here's a column, here's a column, and here's a column. So yes, I have my 4 columns. And if I count these up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I have 12 shapes there. Here's another way you could have drawn it with circles. 1 times 8. So I'm going to think of this as my rows and this as my columns. So I have 1 row, but I need 8 columns. So there's 2 columns, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I want you to give this one a try on your own. I'm not going to draw this one down. So maybe 3 rows and 5 columns, or maybe you'll do 3 columns and 5 rows. That's up to you. This is an example of what that might look like. This one, they decided to do rows. They did 3 rows of 5 columns. Give this one a try. 5 times 2 equals 10. For this PowerPoint, they're choosing to have the first number represent their rows. So here's an example of how you could have done it. 5 rows of 2 columns. Let's try this one. Remember, you can pause at any time. So they're choosing to do 4 rows of 4 columns. If you're still finding it a bit tricky, I will link these YouTube videos underneath that you can watch that will help guide you through it a little bit more. But what I want you to do now, or after you've watched those videos, is you're going to draw an array for each of these questions. So this is what is going to go in your math book, well, your home learning book, underneath the date and learning outcome that we wrote at the beginning of this video. You're going to draw an array for numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. When you're done, you're going to use your ClassDojo to send me a picture of your work, and then you're all done math for the day. Here are some more practice games and things that you can do online. These will also be linked underneath.